Hey all, so I've got some off-season war fights for you here. A lot of these are things that I actually do think would be pretty safe in season. It's just not necessarily things that have shown up and I've gotten the chance to try. So I haven't taken a thing boss with Tigra in a long time, and this isn't really a true takedown because he has suicides, and we're just not proving a whole lot when he's taking almost 1400 poison damage twice per second, right? That said, um, I did use Tigra against Thing in the Gauntlet, and I don't have footage of that fight directly, but this is pretty much how you tackle it. The block damage on this can be a problem if it gets away from you. Right there, you'll do what's often called I did what's often called a wake-up intercept, and that means that after my heavy, I dashed in and caught him. I do not recommend that unless you are very confident in it. That's something that I have practiced a lot. It is a key part of my playstyle, but it is also really easy to mess up. And if you mess up, you will die very quickly. It also does not work against everyone. I find it pretty easy against Thing, but I don't recommend it against Dragon Man. That said, the usual things against him, you actually want him to not be at 15 rock stacks when he throws specials. I try to keep him at 13 or 14 whenever I finish combos or anything like that, because that means that when I throw my 3-hit heavy, I'm not going to end up with him at 15 under a bar. The Oscillate in Gauntlet makes that fight significantly more frustrating than it is there, but that's the basic theory. So here we have Professor X on Encroaching Stun. I honestly can't remember the last time we saw this or who exactly we sent. And I'm not sure that Warlock would be the go-to, especially if he were awakened and there was a chance of him going into mind control without me messing up. But yeah, I figured Warlock could probably do it as long as I played well. Notice I have the suppression pre-fight from Reed because he's also on my team. Careful with that falter, but as long as your stuns are long enough, what I just did is pretty safe. Power reserve means you don't have to focus on getting to the L2. I gave up the infection, which means that I wasn't keeping him completely power drained anymore because I wasn't preventing the healing. But it was worth it because you really, really, really do not want to be stunned on this node. You know, actually, I think going forward, Warlock will probably be incredibly popular here because with the War Machine pre-fight, the odds of you getting stunned and messing this up more than twice before Warlock kills almost any opponent are just not very high. But you can see we're taking advantage of power reserve, we're taking advantage of how the infection is controlling his power. I didn't have to dodge a single special that whole fight. Super easy. So next up we have Cosmic Ghost Rider on Powerful from Afar and Spite. This can definitely get out of hand. I'm not sure I'd recommend Reed here in season, and if I were taking this in a close war, I would absolutely use a power start boost so that I could get straight to that first L2 and calm things down, because there's always the chance that he just won't throw a special, right? Notice that I backed out and came back in because pre-fights seem to be particularly bad in war, in my opinion. They've been pretty reliable for me in story content, but in war, it's like a 20% chance it works the first time. It's been really frustrating. So anyway, I'm mostly using heavy attacks because that lets me stay close. I'm whiffing after the heavy attack to try and bait out his L1. Not really going well. There I dashed back hoping he would throw the L1. He did not. Even though I know this isn't going super well, the most important thing here is I'm making sure my debuffs don't fall off, because I'm pretty sure I can survive an L3, but I am in deep, deep doo-doo if I end up losing those pre-fight debuffs altogether. I can reapply them, but the whole theory of this fight is to stack them. So here we see me once again showing off the pretty significant physical and energy resistance in Reed's kit. 17,000 damage hurts, but especially since I'm going to be healing back a decent chunk of that with adrenaline, I'll take it. I mean, in war, I would have healed up after this, and you either would have used Power Start, like I said, or Indestructible, because it basically removes the risk of that. But now we are actually reversing the power gain from Powerful from Afar. Notice me remember that and then back off, because I know that backing off and triggering it actually will drain his power. The only thing I would have done differently is that I didn't realize that that last heavy was going to kill him, honestly, and so I should have thrown my special 1 to get extra debuffs on him and get more pre-fights. That said, I knew I was going to take another fight with him pretty soon, so I wasn't really worried about only finishing with 5 pre-fights. This Doom is also on Powerful from Afar, but this node also has Kinetic Transference, and Doom in general is scarier than Cosmic Ghost Rider in my opinion. There's also Suicides, of course, which is going to make this fight a lot faster than it would be in a real war, but the important thing here that I'm testing is, can I get this fight set up before he goes red? Because it's a lot harder to eat an L3 from Doom and survive than it is from Cosmic Ghost Rider. So now I have 2 Petrifies up and 2 Suppressions. He takes 50% less power from all hits that I land on him, and he gains 80% less power from all of his power gain abilities, including Powerful from Afar and Kinetic Transference. So that was pretty much under control. It wouldn't have taken that long for me to get up to another L2, stack that, be reversing his power gain, and even if he still had 60% health at that point, I would have had no problem finishing him off with Reed. Probably would have built to an L3 to get that Fury, and it would have been a fun fight. I really love using Reed against Doom. It's such a scary defender that he shuts down so completely. It's very satisfying. So here we have Longshot on the L1 mini, enhanced special and all that. I didn't really consider this to be all that dangerous of a fight. I just knew I would probably need to dodge 1 or 2 special 1s, and that was all there really was to this. Again, Suicides. So, not a true test, but I also think that it is worth using Reed for some of these tests, because the most important part for him in any fight is the setup. If I can get set up safely, if I can get to my first special 2, then it doesn't really matter if the fight ends 10 seconds from then or 2 minutes from then, because I know that once I have my first L2 and I've stacked those pre-fights, I pretty much have things under control. So Hurt Locker means that next I would have had to go L1 and then go L2 again to actually reverse things. Not a problem. Another thing to note is that Longshot gains good karma when you're hitting him. He removes stacks if you hit him while stunned, so that's actually why he's very easy to deal with on any node where you can stun him. I don't think this was great placement. But still, that was set up properly, that fight was handled. Also notice throughout this, I do run Max Despair and Petrify, but just notice how much passive damage is being done to all of these defenders just from Reed reversing their willpower. It's not just the Suicides on that one, it was also on the champions that didn't have Suicides. He's just constantly draining them instead of them constantly healing. And for anyone who's had trouble or timed out due to willpower, you know how much that can add up, especially if you can reverse it. Notice how the willpower goes negative here. So in season, the biggest thing I would have done differently is I just would have healed, right? I also would have boosted at least some kind of champion boost, probably attack as well, maybe health to deal with block damage, and I probably would have used a power start so I would have gotten that first L2 off sooner. But again, the important part here is setup. If I can safely set this up without her going red on me, then I can do it in season and not worry about it. So now we have that L2 off. We are reversing her willpower healing even when I'm not stunning her now. We have very much slowed down her passive power gain. She's only getting 20% of what she normally would, and she's only getting 50% of the power from hits that she normally would. Both of those are being modified up a little bit, actually, now that I say that out loud, because this is Aspect of Evolution, and so she has more than a 100% combat power rate for suppression to decrease. But she's still not gaining that much power. Anyone who's taken this fight and had it go wrong knows how ugly her power bar usually is between the node and the Mystic Dispersion she's normally running, and this is just way better than that. See, notice how it, even with 3 Petrifies up, it's not actually reversing her power gain, but it is basically halting it, and that's enough. Now, I don't know why I did that, but it just proves to me that I would have had this node under control in season when I'd done my duels, because that would not have happened, and then this would have been fine. But you will see here in a second, I think I go for a parry. Because she still has power gain, I lost out on adrenaline, took a lot of block damage because she has gained a number of bars of power, missed the parry, take the extra block damage, die. Even if I had been parried there in season, if I had actually healed before the fight, let alone boosted, I think that would have been a very safe solo. So, this is one of my favorite things about off-season. You get to test matchups that aren't really safe to try in season. You go with the standard ones. But sometimes the standard ones aren't really all that efficient. You know, making a magic like a 5-star work there is not necessarily as safe as having a rank 3 who completely dominates the fight. But you never know that that new rank 3 dominates the fight until you try it. So like I said, I really enjoy off-season war. We try and make sure that pretty much everybody in the BG tests at least one fight like this every time. Then we go into the next season that much smarter. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed this. I will catch you next time. Take care.